Yeah, I wish people would understand. And I know some people on the other side are going to listen to this, and I'm just kind of cautious about like saying this out loud, but I think I'm going to say it anyways. I wish people would understand how easy it is to um, manage money. I think we totally, totally overthink all of this stuff, and we think that we have to have some sort of fancy thing. Um, and that there's some sort of secret that's out there. And, the truth is there's one word that explains everything to do with money. And I want to explain it. I want to talk about it. And that is patience. And that's it. That's the whole thing. Whether it is um, dealing with trying to figure it out, have a little bit of patience, right? You don't need to figure it out right away. Um, whether it is finding somebody to help you out or to find something online for, various different resources. Um, it's just patience, right? Like take your time, go slow. There's no rocket, like nothing is that urgent. And that's the thing you have to remember with everything with the financial stuff is that you are going to have this feeling because I know I experienced it. I still experience it from time to time, but you have this feeling of like, uh, it's very panicky. Um, it's like kind of a gut feeling where you're just like, you know, I'm not doing things right. Um, there's many times I woke up in the middle of the night, kind of panicky, but that feeling passes. And it's all just patience at the end of the day. And how you win in the long run has nothing to do with like all of the things that you hear in popular culture, like all these fishing stories where somebody says, "Oh, I invested in this thing," or I created my own restaurant, whatever, right? Like I became a multi-gazillionaire overnight. No, no, still stories are true. Um, all of those stories are, if it is true, and sometimes there are, they're extraordinarily risky behaviors. And those extraordinarily risky behaviors, for every one of those people that have that phishing story, there are 150 that tried the exact same thing and failed. And you don't hear from them because nobody ever talks about those things. Or, maybe they did something that was completely terrible and they're thrown in jail, right? Like things like that happen because people are trying to do things quickly and fast and kind of like in a shady way, right? Like if you were to do what I would suggest, get your basic insurances, right? Like nothing fancy. That is like a good a good, um, in the United States, you have to have healthcare, but a good sort of healthcare package. A solid one, nothing fancy, nothing to write home about. Um, you get your life insurance that's going to cover uh, essentially 10 years of your salary, right? So you times it by 15, whatever you have, for whatever your income is for a year, times that by 15, and that's what you get, right? Like you get kind of enough that you can live off of it in perpetuity. Um, and that's really inexpensive to do that. Like it really is not terribly bad. Um, and then you have patience by investing 10 to 15% of everything you ever make into mutual funds and index funds after you paid off all of your debts. Um, and then you just wait. As you do this, you wait and you wait and you wait and you wait. And I'm not saying like wait in a matter of like a year. I'm saying like you wait 30, 40, 50 years. And the math almost works out in such a spectacular way when you do that, which this does. I can go into a lot of this stuff. I'm not going to bore you in any of that stuff. You will have an extraordinary amount of money when you do that. And the question is now, and I always talk about this to my students. I always say, this is how you do it. And then they say, well, why would I want an extraordinary amount of money when I'm 90? And then I say, well, that's precisely the reason why you're not going to have, extraordinarily amount of money when you're 90. Because you just don't have the patience. You don't see it. You don't understand it. Right? And that's the entire story behind doing well with money. It's patience. It's patience to read a book about finance. It's patience to wait a little bit of time. You know how many people that they have patience to wait a long time, but they don't have patience to open up a stupid personal finance book, right? And they're not hard to read, or even you don't even have to read them. You listen to them on, book on tape. Like these things are really fairly easy to do. And they're written, most of them, particularly personal finance, are written for, a 6th or 7th or 8th grade level. So they shouldn't be terribly bad, but because you don't have patience to sit down and just kind of like accept something for what it is, you're missing out on a big opportunity. I just think I wish people would sort of see this, right? It's not something that you run home and all of a sudden your life has changed and all that kind of stuff, right? Like that's not what happens. Your life has changed over 30 years. Um, it doesn't change in the matter of a year or 10 years. And even though that even if you said a year still feels like a long time for a lot of people, right? And that's where you just kind of walk forward step by step by step. And I know that people come from all walks of life. I could tell you that I come from all walks of life, but you're not going to believe me, right? You're going to think that I'm a high and mighty professor, all that kind of stuff, right? That's just what you assume. But, if you were to look at this and you did this, what I'm saying, like, even when you start, right? Like, okay, it's hard at the beginning. I understand. I get it. I've been there, but I'm not going to, sort of push that. But, if you can't do 10%, you aim for, okay, I'm going to aim for 1% of everything that I ever make this year is going to go and I'm going to save 1%. That 1% is still better than what you were doing before. And then the next year you get kind of jazzed, right? And then you're at 2%. And then the next year you're at 3%. And, what does that mean? At least in my experience, for me, that's the only thing I can speak to. That means cutting my own hair for a long time. That means rarely going and getting a coffee, like buying a coffee out and about. It's making your own coffee. It's bringing your own lunches. It's riding a bike for multiple, many years rather than owning a car. It's all those things, right? You add all of those things up. It's looking for every little room that you can save and do better, and really focus on building that stability, right? And that's what it is. It's just simple patience, pushing back against the world, knowing that you could do this and just walking little bit by little bit by little bit until you actually have something. And I wish that there was I'll be the first one to say, I wish there was some secret formula because patience is boring as heck. And it's hard to wait for 30 years. So I know, I get it. Um, I want things to happen quickly too, but there is no quick. It's a step by step, slow and steady. Boring always wins. And that's it. Just keep going one day at a time. All right. Take care. And I'm so sorry that I have to break this to you. That it's just patience. All right. Take care. Have a wonderful day.